What if I told you there's a place on Earth where the water is hot enough to melt lead, crushed by pressure 1,000 times stronger than the surface, completely dark, and yet packed with more life per square foot than almost anywhere else on the planet? Welcome to the boiling ocean vents, and by the end of this video, you're going to understand exactly how life not only survives down there, but thrives. Let's start at the bottom of the ocean, literally. Roughly 2.5 kilometers below the surface, along cracks in the Earth's crust, where tectonic plates are pulling apart, seawater seeps down into the ocean floor. It travels through porous rock, gets superheated by magma sitting just below the surface, and comes shooting back out through vents in the seafloor. This water can reach temperatures over 400 degrees Celsius. That's about 750 degrees Fahrenheit. Normally, water would just boil at that temperature, but down here the pressure is so extreme, over 200 times the pressure at sea level, that it stays liquid instead of turning to steam. When this superheated, mineral-rich water hits the freezing near 0-degree water of the deep ocean, the dissolved metals inside it instantly crystallize into tiny black particles, creating what looks like a chimney billowing black smoke. Scientists call these black smokers, and they're one of the most alien landscapes on our entire planet. These vents were only discovered in 1977, and it genuinely shocked the scientific world. A team of researchers aboard the submersible Alvin was exploring the Galapagos Rift, expecting to study geology, cracks in the seafloor, mineral deposits, nothing more. Instead, as they descended, they noticed the water around them getting warmer, and then they saw it. Entire colonies of animals nobody had ever documented, clustered around towering chimneys of mineral-rich water. Giant tube worms taller than a person, clams the size of dinner plates, crabs, shrimp, all thriving in total darkness at a depth where sunlight had never once reached. At the time, this broke one of the most basic rules biologists thought governed all life on Earth, that every ecosystem depends, directly or indirectly, on the sun. Here's why that mattered so much. Up until 1977, scientists believed every food chain on the planet started the same way. Plants and algae use sunlight to perform photosynthesis, converting carbon dioxide and water into sugar, and every other organism, whether directly by eating plants or indirectly by eating something that ate plants, ultimately depends on that sunlight-powered energy. But 2.5 kilometers down, there is no sunlight. None. It's permanently, completely dark. So how are these organisms getting energy to survive, let alone build entire thriving ecosystems? The answer is a process called chemosynthesis, and it's one of the most remarkable discoveries in the history of biology. Instead of using sunlight, certain bacteria at hydrothermal vents use chemical energy instead. The vent water is loaded with hydrogen sulfide, the same compound that gives rotten eggs their smell, and to most life on Earth, it's actually toxic. But these specialized bacteria have evolved enzymes that let them oxidize hydrogen sulfide, essentially burning it chemically, the way plants use sunlight and use that energy to convert carbon dioxide and water into sugars and organic compounds. In other words, these microbes build the foundation of an entire food web using chemistry instead of light. They are the vent ecosystem's equivalent of grass in a meadow or plankton in the open ocean, except their energy source comes from inside the Earth, not from a star 93 million miles away. Now here's where it gets even more fascinating. Some of the most iconic vent animals don't just eat these bacteria. They actually host them inside their own bodies. Take the giant tube worm, scientifically known as Riftia pachyptila. These creatures can grow over 2 meters long, and as adults they have no mouth, no stomach, and no digestive system at all. Instead, they have a specialized organ called a trophosome that's absolutely packed with chemosynthetic bacteria, sometimes making up nearly half the worm's entire body weight. The tube worm's blood, which is bright red because it contains a special type of hemoglobin, absorbs hydrogen sulfide and oxygen from the vent water through feathery red plumes that stick out of its tube, then delivers both compounds directly to the bacteria living inside it. In exchange, the bacteria produce nutrients that feed the worm. It's a textbook example of symbiosis, two completely different organisms locked in a relationship so tight that neither one can survive without the other. The worm gets food it could never digest on its own, and the bacteria get a safe, chemical-rich home and a steady supply of the raw materials they need. Let's talk about the sheer extremity of this environment, because it's honestly hard to overstate. Right next to a black smoker chimney, the water can be over 400 degrees Celsius. But just a meter or two away, it can drop to near freezing, around 2 degrees Celsius, the standard temperature of deep ocean water. That means many vent organisms are living directly on the edge of an extreme temperature gradient, sometimes with their front half in scalding water and their back half in near freezing water. One creature in particular takes this to an almost unbelievable extreme. Meet the Pompeii worm Alvinella pompeiana, considered one of the most heat-tolerant complex animals known to science. This worm lives inside tubes it builds directly on the sides of black smoker chimneys. Its tail end, which sits deeper in the tube near the vent opening, can experience temperatures over 80 degrees Celsius, hot enough to cook most proteins into uselessness, while its feathery head poking out into open water sits in temperatures closer to 20 or 25 degrees Celsius. That's a temperature difference of roughly 60 degrees across an animal that's only a few centimeters long. Scientists have studied how its proteins stay stable at such extremes, and part of the answer seems to involve a fuzzy coating of bacteria living directly on the worm's back, possibly acting as an insulating, protective layer. We still don't fully understand every mechanism behind its heat tolerance, and that alone tells you how much cutting-edge science is still happening around these vents today. Before we go further, if you're enjoying learning about one of the most extreme ecosystems on our planet, do me a favor and hit that subscribe button and drop a like on this video. It genuinely helps this channel keep making deep dive science content like this. All right, let's keep going, because we haven't even gotten to the crabs, the shrimp, or why NASA is obsessed with these vents. Let's talk about the animals that call these vents home, because the variety here is honestly wild. There's the yeti crab, Kiwa hirsuta, first discovered in 2005 near Easter Island, covered in what looks like blonde, silky hair across its claws and legs. Researchers eventually figured out that this hair is actually covered in filamentous bacteria, and the crab appears to farm these bacteria, waving its claws in the mineral-rich vent water to help the bacteria grow, then scraping them off to eat. It's essentially cultivating its own food supply in one of the most inhospitable environments on Earth. Then there's the vent shrimp, Rimicaris exoculata, found in huge swarms around Atlantic hydrothermal vents. These shrimp don't have normal eyes. Instead, they have a light-sensing organ on their backs that can detect the extremely faint thermal glow given off by the scalding vent water, essentially a heat-sensing patch instead of true vision, allowing them to navigate distance from the deadly heat of the chimney without being cooked alive. Scientists still debate exactly how sensitive this organ is and what wavelengths it detects, but it's a stunning example of evolution solving the no sunlight problem in a completely different way than tube worms did. Giant clams and mussels are common around vents too, species like Calyptogena magnifica. And just like the tube worms, many of them host chemosynthetic bacteria directly inside their gill tissue. Their gills have become bright red and enlarged, packed with blood vessels to shuttle hydrogen sulfide and oxygen to their bacterial partners. There are also entire species of eyeless fish, deep-sea octopuses that have been spotted brooding eggs near warm vent water, presumably because the heat speeds up incubation in the freezing deep sea, and dense mats of bacteria that coat the surrounding rocks in white, yellow, and orange, colored by the sulfur compounds they process. Now, not all vents are the black smokers we've been describing. There's also a very different type called white smokers, and one of the most famous examples is a site in the mid-Atlantic called the Lost City. Instead of being powered directly by magma, the Lost City's vents are created through a chemical reaction between seawater and a rock type called peridotite, a process known as serpentinization. This reaction produces hydrogen gas and heat, and the resulting vent fluid is much cooler than black smokers, generally under 100 degrees Celsius, and highly alkaline instead of acidic. The chimneys here are made of a mineral called carbonate, and they're pale white, some towering over 60 meters tall, making them some of the largest hydrothermal formations ever found on Earth. The Lost City is particularly important to scientists because the chemistry happening there, hydrogen gas production through simple rock-water reactions, is considered one of the leading hypotheses for how life itself may have originated on early Earth, long before there were any bacteria or complex chemistry at all. This actually leads us to one of the biggest reasons. Hydrothermal vents matter far beyond marine biology. They matter to the search for life beyond Earth. NASA and other space agencies have taken a serious interest in vent ecosystems because of moons like Europa orbiting Jupiter and Enceladus orbiting Saturn. Both of these icy moons are believed to have liquid water oceans hidden beneath thick shells of ice. In 2005, the Cassini spacecraft discovered plumes of water vapor and ice particles erupting from cracks near Enceladus's south pole, and later analysis found these plumes contain molecular hydrogen along with organic compounds and dissolved minerals. That specific combination is considered strong evidence that Enceladus may have hydrothermal activity happening on its ocean floor, essentially chemistry similar to what's happening at Earth's vents right now. If chemosynthesis can support entire ecosystems here on Earth without a single photon of sunlight reaching the ocean floor, then in theory, similar chemistry could support microbial life on a moon that never sees direct sunlight at all, since it orbits so far from the sun. This is a huge reason vent research isn't just about deep-sea biology. It's actively shaping how we search for life on other worlds. Let's circle back to Earth for a moment, because there's another layer to this story that's just as important: how vent ecosystems function as isolated evolutionary islands. Hydrothermal vents aren't permanent. A single vent system might actively erupt for a few years or a few decades, and then the underlying magma chamber shifts, or the crack in the seafloor closes, and the vent goes cold, essentially dying. When that happens, every organism relying on that specific vent has to find a new one, sometimes hundreds of kilometers away across open, freezing, pitch black ocean floor with no chemosynthetic food source in between. Because of this, many vent species have evolved specialized larval stages designed to drift for extended periods in ocean currents, essentially searching for the chemical signature of a new vent site before their limited energy reserves run out. This creates isolated, disconnected communities, almost like island chains, where populations at vents along the East Pacific Rise can be genetically distinct from populations at Atlantic vents, even when they're the same general species. Researchers studying this have found that vent ecosystems along different tectonic boundaries have evolved somewhat independently, giving scientists a rare, real-world laboratory for studying evolution, isolation, and dispersal in real time. We should also talk about why these vents matter economically and why there's active concern about their future. The same superheated water that creates these ecosystems also deposits massive quantities of valuable minerals, copper, zinc, gold, and silver. As the metal-rich fluid cools and crystallizes into the chimney structures and surrounding seafloor, these deposits are called seafloor massive sulfides, and mining companies have shown serious interest in extracting them, since land-based reserves of some of these metals are becoming harder to access. This has triggered a genuine and ongoing debate among scientists, environmental groups, and governments. Deep sea mining could physically destroy vent chimneys and the specialized ecosystems living on them, potentially before we've even finished documenting what species exist there in the first place. Because many vent species have only been discovered in the last few decades, and new ones are still being found on nearly every major research expedition. There's real concern that mining could wipe out species that science doesn't even know exist yet. International bodies like the International Seabed Authority have been working through regulations on this exact issue, trying to balance mineral resource needs against preserving one of the most unique ecosystems on the planet. Before we wrap up, I want to talk about how researchers actually study these places, because it's genuinely impressive engineering. Human-occupied submersibles like Alvin, operated by Woods Hole Oceanographic Institution, and remotely operated vehicles like Jason are built to withstand the crushing pressure of the deep ocean while carrying specialized temperature probes, sampling equipment, and high-resolution cameras. Some sampling tools are designed specifically to handle 400-degree fluid without melting or breaking, using titanium components and insulated sampling nozzles. Scientists also use specialized pressurized containers to bring vent organisms up to the surface without them dying from the sudden pressure change, since many vent species can't survive rapid decompression, allowing researchers to study their biology, their bacteria partnerships, and their heat tolerance in controlled lab settings. Every expedition to these sites tends to reveal something new species, new chemical processes, or new insights into just how far the boundaries of life can be pushed. So when you really step back and look at the full picture, hydrothermal vents represent one of the most profound discoveries in the history of biology. They proved that life doesn't need sunlight to exist. They showed us organisms capable of surviving temperatures and pressures once thought completely incompatible with life. They gave us real, living examples of the kind of chemistry that may have sparked life on Earth billions of years ago. And now they're guiding our search for life on icy moons hundreds of millions of kilometers away. Every black smoker, every white smoker, every tube worm, and yeti crab down there is a reminder that life finds a way into places we once assumed were completely off limits, and there are almost certainly vent systems out there in the deep ocean that we haven't even discovered yet. If this video expanded how you think about life on this planet and maybe even life beyond it, do me a huge favor and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the next deep dive. And drop a comment letting me know which creature from this video surprised you the most: the Pompeii worm, the yeti crab, or the eyeless shrimp with heat sensors on its back. And if you found this valuable, share it with someone who'd find this as fascinating as you just did. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.